Everyone, welcome once again to the Adventure Travel Club television show. Betty, we find ourselves back in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and as you remember last time when we were with you, we were doing the Stations of the Cross, and we are still doing the Stations of the Cross. And we are now at the stone where Jesus' body was anointed after he was taken down from the cross. And right above that, over to the side, I should say, is this beautiful, beautiful mosaic as we see here. And we talked on the last show about some of the mosaics that we've seen in some of the churches throughout the Holy Land, and of course this is an absolutely spectacular view of that. But speaking of spectacular views, here we go. This is the new dome over the tomb, over Jesus' tomb, and this is really a spectacular thing. And we have to say too that our good friend Corky Normart from here in Fresno was the person that did the design on this dome. And this was more than an act of Congress to get this through, because you had 4 various religious groups that are represented within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and to get them to all agree on a particular design was, as they say, almost a miracle itself.
Yeah, well, it's a great honor for us to have someone from Fresno to be appointed or picked or chosen to do this. And having been there many times and seen what it looked like before it was opened up, it's just like waking up in the morning to the sunshine.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes.
It is. And now you can see inside this portion of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Before it was so dark, and but as you remember so many times when we've been there before, there was nothing but scaffolding up here, old rusty scaffolding and boards up there. You couldn't even see the top of the dome. But now with this beautiful new dome, it's absolutely great. However, there is a little drawback here. And we happened to run into Corky while we were in the Holy Land at this particular time. And he said, Marv, he says, I'm just still a little disappointed. I said, why? I said, I'm sure it's just absolutely going to be beautiful. He says, yes, but he says, they are really not keeping it up the way that they should. Now, you notice, Betty, look here on the well, we just changed back. You can see there's some dark spots up over there. Okay, well, that's all supposed to be illuminated, and all that takes is for the person to
turn the lights
change
on.
The bulbs on. Well, I think that, to keep it up that way, and evidently that was not being done. So, of course, that made Corky as an artist a little bit unhappy about that. Now, this is right below that dome. This is the entrance to the tomb itself, and if you were to look in the other direction from the tomb door, look back the other way, as we stated last show, that we're looking now into the Greek Orthodox Church. And of course, this was Sunday morning, so the Greek Orthodox were having their liturgy here. And this is the first time I've ever seen those doors open before. They've always been closed. I didn't know if there was anything behind there or not.
Well, now we know.
Now we know. Yes, and it was really quite beautiful.
Everything is so ritualistic, and it's so beautiful, and there's a whole pageantry, isn't it? The vestments, the candles, the whole.
And because it is the liturgical churches that are represented here. And that, of course, is why you see so much of this beautiful liturgy that, has been going on for 2,000 years. Absolutely.
Take a look at that floor. Isn't that something?
Yes, and look at the chandeliers.
Yes.
Look at the chandeliers.
It is just priceless to walk in here and look around and see all of the artifacts, all of the treasures that are on display.
It's beautiful. It really is. And Betty, I'm so glad that we made the Way of the Cross. Now that's looking up above it, that we did it on a Sunday so that we could see the other faith groups in the church celebrating their particular liturgies as they were here. And this was,
Well, when we got up that early in the morning, we were thinking, oh my gosh, but then as we progressed with it, as you saw on the tapes, it was a wonderful experience to do that without all the noise.
All the other tourists.
Yes.
Now we are going to go into the tomb itself, and it's a little bit dark here, but once you get inside, it's lit by candles, and of course you can see the slab right there. This is the tomb, as we can see right here. and there's not room in there for very many people, about 2 or 3 people, and that was about it. Again, this is the outside of that, the entrance, and it's really quite lovely.
It's to think that you are actually in the tomb. The way it's presented, you don't get the idea of a tomb, but we know that this is the very place where Jesus was buried. And in times past, we have had a mass inside of the tomb, but not this time, and it's much better not to, because we can all participate when it's outside.
Exactly.
In the tomb, it's just enough for 3 people in the camera.
Well, we did that one year, yes. Monsignor Hayes and myself and another priest who was also on the Eternal Word Television Network. The 2 of them celebrated, and I was there with the camera, and I mean, it was very tight quarters.
Yeah.
and it's true. And then just the 3 of us, unfortunately, we were
able
to
outside
share in the whole liturgy, and the rest
sang.
were outside.
We sang. But I'm just thrilled to share this with our viewers, because I know they hear the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I mean, that is forever and ever and ever, you hear that.
Exactly.
And then to be able to see inside, because everybody's not going to make this trip. They're not going to be able to, whether for health reasons or monetary conditions. But here you can share with us vicariously, as it were, the marvelous sights that we have the privilege to show.
Yes. And this was our group. We did want to take a group picture. So, again, on the steps of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre outside, there's a little sort of a courtyard or square right here. The whole area, of course, is right in the main part of the old city of Jerusalem, the walled city. And so you can get a little confused in there sometimes, because there's little roads and alleyways and steps that go in this direction and that direction. And I was one year I was with a friend of mine who was born and grew up in the old city, and took me through all of these, the little back alleys and things. And it's really quite interesting.
Well, it's scary, because I me, I don't have any sense of directions at all. Isn't it crazy here? I travel all over, but I know right and left.
Oh, listen,
but,
you can get...
I don't know anything else, and if I have to look at and get a focus on something when I make a turn, so that I know when I come back, hey, that's where you turn, Betty.
But I'm going to tell you, though, it is easy to get turned around in the old city, because it's not laid out like, say, the city of Fresno on a square, that type of thing. But I mean, you've got little nooks and crannies, and the little streets and things just go every which way.
But you'd never get lost. All you have to say where your hotel is, or you ask actually for the gate. You want New Gate. Where is New Gate? And so they will tell you where New Gate is. You go out New Gate, and there's your hotel. No problem.
If you stayed at the same place we stayed.
Even with me, there's no problem.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, of course, we said that this was a Sunday, and of course, Sunday there is a shopping day. It's interesting, if you happen to live in Jerusalem or the Holy Land, you might have 3 days off. I mean, the Jewish holiday on Friday, and the Muslim holiday on Saturday, and the Christian holiday on Sunday. Right. Now,
excuse me, Mark, but that's the way it is inside of the walled city, because when they're celebrating their own spiritual whatever it happens to be, the doors are all closed to the shops. So, but the rest are still open. Was that what you said?
Well,
am I repeating what you said?
Well, part of that's
I don't understand you sometimes.
Part of that's true. Now, it depended on what faith group you belong to, and whether that was your holiday, and whether you had your stores closed that day.
Now, you put that nicer than your faith group. I think that's nice.
That's what it was.
That's nice.
That's what it
Thank
anyway,
you.
Here's a new gate, or another gate. This is not the new gate.
Well, it's new to us right now.
I don't know. Now, Betty, sometime I want to go down here, this Ophel Archaeological Gardens, which has been under reconstruction, or the digs, as we should say. We haven't had a chance to go down here yet.
I think it's pretty awful to go there right now, because they're just doing too much digging.
Well,
what is it? I don't know. Understand
right
this
here,
really.
Yes,
I see.
Right outside, and right outside the wall, right here, as we can see.
What
They've
is
been
it?
working on this for a long time, and every time I go back, there's a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more that's been. But I mean, this is a painstaking thing that they're doing, because everything, of course, the archaeologists. I did say that right?
That's right. First time, no, but the second time's fine. But I don't what is it they're reconstructing? I didn't get that
whole
story.
Area, which is right outside the wall.
I know, dear.
Yeah.
But what is it?
Ophel Garden. I don't know. That's what the sign said.
Excuse
but you know where we are right here, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay,
I do
where
know
are
that.
we?
We're in the square.
You're at the Wailing Wall.
At the Wailing
right?
Wall,
Yeah.
but it is a big square there, though.
There is a big square there. That's
yeah.
right. And we're gonna actually enter this and leave it a couple times on this particular program because of the sort of the route that we were taking there. A lot of people say, okay, what is the Wailing Wall? Well, that is a retaining wall, the retained part of the mountain site there, where the Temple Mount was on top of that.
Independent enclosure inside the temple area. Okay? Meaning this wall, the western wall, the southern wall, the eastern wall, the northern wall, is just the wall that surrounded the Temple Mount or Mount Moriah, and inside that enclosure there was the independent building known as the temple. So this is not even the temple wall. Are you getting the idea?
Well, as we can see here, this is part of again where the women are saying their prayers by the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall, whatever you want to call it. And this does have a lot of significance for a lot of people, and a lot of people will put little pieces of paper, little prayers in the wall as well. And I don't mean to demean any of this at all, because it is. There are a lot of people that have a very, very strong attachment to this. But I will have to say, I did talk to a rabbi friend of mine once, and he couldn't understand why there was so much devotion at this particular place. Of course, it was the only thing that would have been in reference to the temple itself. But he says, Marv, that was just a retaining wall.
Yeah.
It didn't have any religious significance at all. So,
well, I guess it's a symbolic thing, though.
I think
See,
so.
it was. But and now, when the men, we were separated, the women on one side
Yeah,
and
right.
the men on the other. And if you had short sleeves on, you had to wear something over your shoulders. They won't let you in. And of course, you can't go in with shorts at all.
and we weren't the only people that were there shooting that day. As you can see, there's another video crew that was there as well. This is a very, very popular site, of course, and it's a site that you see probably on a lot of television programs as well.
Postcards, too.
A lot of postcards,
Yes,
right. And
yes.
it is interesting to go in there, and a lot of Jewish young men will have their bar mitzvahs there. And as we can see, a lot of the Orthodox Jews are praying, and you wonder why. Now, they are rocking back and forth because in the Hebrew Scriptures it says that you will worship and pray with all of your heart and all of your soul and all your body and all your mind. And I think that is interpreted as actually all your physical
Complete.
being as well, right?
You remember when you had the phylactery put on your hand?
Yes, I did,
Many
right.
years ago, huh?
Right. Yeah. In fact, the first time that I visited here, there was a young Jewish man, and he was praying, and he had a phylactery. And if you're not familiar with that particular word, phylactery are the straps that I want to say leather straps that you bind your left arm and your hand with, and there's a little box there, and one also that you put on your head with a prayer in it, and you use that in as you do pray. And perhaps, I don't know, maybe even Jesus used that in his time. I'm not quite sure, but I was trying to see if we could see a phylactery here in any of the scenes, but I don't see one there.
There were
'cause
some that day, though.
Oh, yes, there were. That's true.
They were
but the
there.
men were already had
Done their thing,
sleeves
huh?
covered because they were wearing coats. But yeah, it was really quite interesting, and so I thought that they had made me an honorary Jew for the day because because I was wrapped with the phylactery. These are some other sites that are not too far away. That's the Muslim cemetery, and you just saw the Russian church there, and also the tomb of, I believe it was Absalom.
Absalom,
Is
right.
that right? Yeah. And everywhere you look,
You know who Absalom was?
who was Absalom?
I'm just
You're going to give
asking
me is this like a joke?
No, it's
is it a
not
trick
really.
question?
No, it's not really.
Well,
Not
he was.
really. Who was he the son of?
I don't know.
Okay.
Who was he the
I
son
won't
of?
tell you. You just.
He was the son of his dad.
Go
his
look
father.
it. Go look it up.
I'll go look it up. All
You go
right.
look it up.
Okay. Anyway, we're back again now in the old city. We were kind of in and out of it a couple of times that day because of the route that we had to take, and also because now, as you see, this still was Sunday, and the tourists were coming more and more and more. Now, do you know where we are now? You said we weren't going to get here, but we did.
No, tell me.
Okay, well, see if you can figure it out. Now, look, here's a crown of thorns around the door, and
Oh, this has to be the Church of Gethsemane.
no,
No?
not Gethsemane.
I'm
no,
sorry.
we'll get there later.
All right.
This is where we started, the way of the cross, but we were on the other side of the wall. We didn't get in church, the Church of Flagellation.
Oh, yes. We didn't.
Remember?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You gave me a quiz, and I gave you
Yeah,
one. We both flunked.
But you know, that's not fair because you have the advantage over me because you take the pictures and you can see what it says on them. I'm scooting around with people, you know, and so.
Well, you know, I have photographed this many times, and it's this has an awful lot of meaning here because, of course, this is where Jesus was. Was beaten, and that's what we have to say. And we learned in one of the other episodes that we had here on the Adventure Travel Club of actually what that whip was like and how it actually cut through the flesh right to the bone.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a spot where this took place, and so it really is a very powerful moment when you are here and you're actually in this church. And there, we're going to show you in a moment too some of the stones that were actually there, and I think we have a shot of that coming up a little bit. But you can see here how it must have been, or somewhat what it did look like when Jesus was here at this point.
This is why I really try to tell people, Christian people, that you should make this pilgrimage over here because it's the whole story of what you believe, and then you participate in all of it. It's an awesome adventure. I have people going off to Medjugorje and to Lourdes and places, and I always say, well, why don't you go to the Holy Land? You're going to get everything. You get the Blessed Mother, you get Jesus, you get Joseph, apostles, everybody for the price of your trip. And they're taking me up on it pretty well because we've been doing it for years now.
And Betty has his trip coming up again, as we said, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Oh,
now some of the shops are open. It's a little bit later in the day on Sunday, and as you can see, there's vegetable market,
it's
meat
fun.
market,
It is
clothing
fun.
market,
I love
right.
it. I just
And you know, I do too, and the people are so great. I mean, you go into some of the shops and talk and sit down. I spent an hour in one of the shops. They sent out, we had the wonderful sweet mint tea, and had a lovely time just visiting with some of the shopkeepers.
You have shops here. Can you see that? This side does not have shops. So the crowd that is shopping is on that side. The crowd that is not shopping is on this side. In the middle is the place for the animals, for the horses, the chariots, and I will show you part of the original pavement. Now look and try and see what you've seen in the picture. Here's one sidewalk with pillars. This is what they would call in Roman times a colonnaded street. But colonnaded streets are more for beauty. But I would use the term colonnaded to say that along the sidewalk there's pillars. On the other sidewalk there are pillars too. They tried to kind of show you how those streets were shaded, they were covered, roofed. They're trying to show you. That is the original height of the pillars right there. Can you see them? That's a complete pillars, 3 or 4 of them right there. And you are standing in the street. Now look, if you look that way, you can see under the modern building, you can see arches.
Oh, this was really something. As I say, I had never been to this particular area before, and this area has really been reconstructed. Of course, that whole Jewish quarter has been, the buildings have become a lot more modern than they were.
This was new to me too. We didn't go here before. This is something very new, and I'll always remember it because you got lost and I had to go find you, and that's unusual. You stayed behind to take a picture, and then we made a turn. And when you make a turn,
I got lost. That's
and when you make a turn, when everybody doesn't make it, forget it. So I went back and got you. I rescued you.
Right.
So I remember that.
Well, this is some more of of this particular area right here. Now, this was a marketplace, as our guide was telling us, and the long colonnades right there. And this was done very, very well. I mean, it's set up so that as a tourist or whatever, you can walk by here and
you can
see
sit.
this.
And you can sit. Do you see all those nice little places that you
Yes.
can sit down for a while and take a rest?
Right. Yeah, because as we say, as I often have said, the Holy Land is all up and down. I mean, it's uphill and downhill. There's not very much that's very level on that. And here is one of the maps here. You could see part of what was one of the old cities. Now, as we got just out of the area where we were here, we can see one of the old walls went up to about that particular height there, where all of that stuff is growing, between probably 7.5 to 8 feet, or would that be meters? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, across the way over here, we see the children are playing. They're having school, and there was an artist in this area, and he was selling some of his artwork. And there was part of an old wall that was also in this area as well. This was a very interesting thing, and what interested me is if you wander around here, you're going to hear English spoken more than anything else, because most of these people that live in this area are American Jews that have settled in Israel.
Immigrated. Do they immigrate? Don't they go back? Is that immigrate?
Yes, I've had some Jewish friends here in Fresno that have done that and now live there full time. And this is part of that old block wall that you see. And of course, as you think of this, there's so much history built on top of history, and you really do need a guide to really sort of tell you what is where, what was what century, because it can get a little confusing when you figure, thousands of years of history right here.
Take a look at the roads. I presume that's a road.
No, that was
part of the wall there,
that's
too high.
Part of the old block wall, and that was during the broad wall, I should say, during the Israelite period. And if you ask me to date that, I'm afraid I can't do that for you.
Well, I think it'll be a little old for you to try to date, wouldn't it?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely
I think you can do better than that.
Okay.
But anyway.
Anyway, we're still here in the Jewish quarter, and now we are going to go back to where we were earlier when we went down to the Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall. If we follow this street and then drop down back into that square again, we're gonna end up there. But looking at the shops is very interesting. Like, here's a little boy making his bar mitzvah, and there were a lot of little figurines and things for sale right there. Very, very interesting. Some very lovely shops right there, as I might say. So here we come out again. We're elevated a little bit higher, and as you can see off to our right, there's the Western Wall, and we're going to go down and cross that area again, and then we are going to wind up going up on the other side, because we're going to go up to where the Dome of the Rock is, and El Aqsa Mosque. So you see, we're coming over some of the same area that we were on just a little while ago. And the reason for that is because there are checkpoints now, because there have been some demonstrations in the past here, and so the Israeli security forces want to make sure that no one's going to get into any mischief, and so that's why we do have a couple of security points there.
It's a good idea. I never have objected to that. But my goodness, I think it's probably one of the safest places to want to go to.
It is.
And I mean, people say, isn't it scary? What's to be afraid of,
I don't know, because
newspapers.
Look, here's a whole truck full of Israeli soldiers that are getting out there and are coming out.
Marv, when I was there before, they were up there with the guards on the wall, and we don't have anything like that.
Well, no. As I say, there was. You never know. You never know what is going on, or whether there's somebody that's going to be a little crazy and going to do something. And of course, I'm sure the security forces are clued in.
Just like here.
Oh, it's safer there than it is here. A lot of people say, "You're going over there?" And I say, "Where are you from?" I said, "Fresno." And I said, "Well, we have more violence here on a daily basis than they do there. It's just that when you see it or hear from it there, it goes over worldwide."
That's the media.
Now we have crossed in, and that's Al Aqsa Mosque to our right, which is the second most holiest site to Muslims. Of course, the first site would be in Mecca, the Kaaba in Mecca, and then the second would be here at Al Aqsa Mosque, which is in Jerusalem. But we're going to go right to the left of that, because we want to go over and visit the Dome of the Rock, and that is, of course, very recognizable. Again, there's Al Aqsa Mosque off to our right, and we'll take a little left-hand turn here in just a moment. The gold dome that you will see in just a few moments has been refurbished a few years ago, and it's really quite beautiful. Betty, you and I have been in here before, and those Oriental rugs that are on the floor are just beautiful, aren't they?
It is. It's just. We keep using words like magnificent, spectacular, and stuff, but unless you are there yourselves, you don't get the full impact of it. And you admire the holiness of the Muslims because they do pray. I wish we as Christians prayed as often and as overtly as they do, we would be good examples for everybody.
Very good examples. Praying 5 times a day, it really keeps you on track as to
where you're going and where you've been, right.
I love the mosaics again here on the outside of the Dome of the Rock, the building here. I mean, this is really, really quite beautiful. The writing up above that you will see, of course, in the Arabic script are sayings from the Quran, which is the Muslim holy book, and the rest of the mosaics that you see down here are done in such just a beautiful array.
Colors, aren't they? Marv, maybe a little explanation of the Dome of the Rock, or does our guide later on to go into what the Dome of the Rock is?
Being that we couldn't take pictures on there, of course there is a large rock inside the building, and of course that rock, it was believed that's where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son Isaac, is what the Lord had told him to do. And as he got ready to do that, then he was stopped before he slew his son as an offering, and the Lord had told him, he says, "Now I know that you are totally loyal to me and your belief." And so they found a ram in the bushes not very far from here, and they took that and sacrificed that ram.
So that's what the dome is
part
over the rock.
Yeah. Now, and also in the Muslim tradition, Muslims believe that that the Prophet Muhammad was ascended to the seventh heaven on a visit to the seventh heaven from here at the Dome of the Rock. In fact, there's a reliquary. Did I say that right?
Yes, that's
there
wonderful.
Was supposedly with some hairs from the beard of the Prophet Muhammad, and you can put your hand in that and
is that what we put our hand in to touch his beard?
Yeah, well,
to touch something
of some hairs of the beard.
I put my hand in, but I didn't know what I was feeling.
Well, now you do. Okay, and what we just saw there was on the back side of that was the Muslim cemetery, and here, of course, now we're looking at, of course, what we all know now, right? This is the Damascus Gate here. So this was, and you can see now, a Sunday, it's a little bit later in the day, and there's more and more people coming and going, and a lot of shopping. This is a mosaic, another mosaic, but this was in the place where we were staying, which is a beautiful place, as Betty said, right across the street. There's the new gate. We're right across the street from it, and that is the Notre Dame Hotel. At one time, Betty, that was a convent, wasn't it? I read that somewhere.
Oh, I don't think so. It was always Vatican property,
yeah,
I think it belonged to some missionary order of monasteries, rather.
Well,
I don't know. Of course, nuns are in monasteries too.
Whatever.
I don't know, but it was religious property, and they lost it financially because they couldn't keep it up. Yeah, and then repurchased it.
Well, Betty, it's just about time for us to say goodbye. But hey, if you are interested in going back with us to the Holy Land in 2006. All you have to do is pick up your phone and give Betty a call at
488-7443.
And that just about wraps it up for this show. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.